Hello, explorers of the past. Welcome to Times and Thrones, the channel where we uncover the epic stories of the civilizations that shaped our history. Today, we will embark on the fascinating saga of the Vikings, those fearless navigators who left an indelible mark on the world. Imagine yourself in the cold lands of the north, where the wind howls like a solitary wolf and the nights seem endless. It is in this inhospitable setting that a people of indomitable courage emerged, the Vikings. Hailing from Scandinavia, the region that today encompasses Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, these bold navigators became central figures between the 8th and 11th century. The word Viking conjures images of longships cutting through the waves, but its etymology is as mysterious as the mist surrounding their legends. Some scholars suggest that it comes from Vik, a Norse term for bay or cove, referring to those who set sail from these sheltered waters into the unknown. Others believe it may be related to Wising, an Anglo-Saxon word for pirate. Regardless of its origin, the name became synonymous with exploration and bravery. Scandinavia, with its majestic fjords and dense forests, forged a resilient society. The Vikings were farmers, craftsmen, traders, and warriors living in communities that valued honor and loyalty. Their longhouses, built from sturdy wood, housed extended families and reflected the importance of collectivity. The harsh landscape shaped their character, making them adaptable and fearless in the face of adversity. Yet, it wasn't only the harsh conditions that drove them. The quest for fertile lands, wealth, and prestige led them to look beyond their frozen horizon. Stories of bountiful lands and untold treasures fueled their curiosity and ambition. Thus, the Vikings began to build ships that would become legendary, the Drakars. With prows carved in the shape of fearsome dragons, these ships were as much works of art as they were tools of conquest. It was with these ships that the Vikings set off on their epic journeys, sailing across unknown seas and winding rivers, ready to leave their mark on the world. But what would they find beyond their familiar waters? What challenges and opportunities awaited them in distant lands? The saga of the Masters of the Seas had only just begun, and their sails, billowing in the wind, were a harbinger of the adventures to come. And so, with the winds of destiny in their favor, the Vikings set sail, charting new horizons and writing epic chapters in the history of humanity. But how were these fearless navigators forged? What training shaped their strength and determination? Get ready to uncover the secrets behind the making of the Nordic warriors in our next segment. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive future videos and press a like button, as it helps greatly to continue our work. Now, let's move on to the video. Chapter 1. The Viking Society. The story begins in the northern lands, which today include countries like Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Iceland. In this inhospitable setting, a robust and complex society flourished, that of the Vikings. Far beyond the image of fearless warriors, they were farmers, craftsmen, traders, and explorers, weaving a rich and multifaceted cultural tapestry. The Viking social structure was hierarchical, consisting of three main classes: the thralls, slaves; the carls, free peasants; and the jarls, aristocrats. The thralls were responsible for the hardest labor, sustaining the economy through their tireless work. The carls owned land and livestock, dedicating themselves to agriculture and craftsmanship, while the jarls controlled vast estates and wielded political power, living in impressive longhouses that symbolized their privileged position. Daily life revolved around the community and cooperation. Families were nuclear, typically consisting of a man, a woman, and their children, although polygamy was practiced among the wealthier classes. Women, though subordinate to men, enjoyed a certain degree of autonomy, being able to manage property and engage in commercial activities. The society valued honor, loyalty, and hospitality, principles that guided interpersonal relationships and the cohesion of the group. In their leisure hours, the Vikings enjoyed board games like Anafataful and delighted in music and poetry. Instruments like harps and lutes filled the nights, while sagas and epics were recited, perpetuating tales of heroic heroic deeds and ancestral myths. These cultural practices not only entertained, but also reinforced collective identity and transmitted essential values to new generations. However, this structured society rich in traditions was not confined to its native lands. Driven by an adventurous spirit and the need for resources, the Vikings set out to the seas, exploring and colonizing new lands. But how were these fearless navigators forged? What training shaped their strength and determination? Get ready to uncover the secrets behind the making of the Nordic warriors. Chapter 2. The Nordic Roots, Culture and Society. In the cold lands of the north, where the biting winds shaped the character of its people, a complex and structured society flourished. Viking society, organized into three main social classes: thralls, slaves, carls, free peasants, and jarls, nobles, each played a vital role in maintaining social and economic cohesion. The base of this social pyramid was formed by the thralls, who made up about a quarter of the population. These individuals, often prisoners of war or descendants of thralls, performed domestic tasks, built infrastructure, and worked on the lands of the carls and jarls. Their condition was one of subordination, and their existence was essential for the daily functioning of Viking society. Above them were the carls, the free peasants who formed the economic backbone of society. Owners of land, cattle, and other resources, the carls engaged in agriculture, fishing, craftsmanship, and trade. While free, they relied on the thralls for the hardest tasks, balancing the workload and ensuring the production necessary to sustain the community. At the top of the social hierarchy were the jarls, the noble class composed of wealthy individuals who owned large estates, extensive longhouses, and numerous thralls. The jarls were involved in administration, politics, military activities, and entertainment. Their residences served as centers of power and influence, where crucial decisions were made, shaping the fate of Viking communities. Viking society was also characterized by a certain social fluidity. While mobility between classes was limited, individuals could ascend socially through notable deeds, wealth accumulation, or strategic alliances. This dynamic allowed the society to adapt and reorganize as circumstances changed, ensuring its survival and prosperity over the centuries. Beyond social structure, Viking culture was rich in traditions, beliefs, and practices that reflected their worldview. The Old Norse language, for instance, was used in runic inscriptions and oral literature, such as the sagas, which chronicled heroic deeds and genealogies. These stories were passed down from generation to generation, reinforcing values like courage, honor, and loyalty. Religion also played a central role in daily life. The Vikings practiced polytheism, worshiping gods like Odin, Thor, and Freya. Rituals, sacrifices, and religious festivals were common, reflecting their deep spiritual connection with nature and the cosmos. With the arrival of Christianity, many of these practices were gradually incorporated or replaced, marking a significant transition in Viking cultural identity. Viking art and architecture were also distinctive. Known for their skill in working with metals, wood, and other materials, they crafted jewelry, household items, and decorated ships. The longhouses, built from wood and thatched roofs, served as family residences and community centers, reflecting the importance of collectivity in Viking culture. This complex tapestry of social structure, vibrant culture, and religious practices shaped the Viking identity, leaving a legacy that still fascinates scholars and enthusiasts around the world. Chapter 3. Masters of the Seas, the Age of Expansion. With their dracars cutting through the waters of the North Atlantic, the Vikings were not content to explore just the cold lands of the north. Driven by an unyielding spirit, they ventured westward, exploring unknown seas and establishing settlements that would become historical landmarks. Around 870, the Vikings began to colonize Iceland, founding Reykjavik, the northernmost capital in the world. Centuries later, in 986, Eric the Red led an expedition that resulted in the colonization of Greenland, where Viking settlements flourished for centuries. But Viking boldness didn't stop there. Led by Leif Erikson, they reached North America, establishing a temporary settlement at L'Anse aux Meadows, in what is now Newfoundland, Canada. This achievement made them the first Europeans to set foot on the American continent, centuries before Columbus. Meanwhile, to the east, the Swedish Vikings, known as the Varangians, Barbarians navigated the rivers of what is now Russia, founding cities like Novgorod and Kiev. These trade routes connected them to the Byzantine Empire and the Abbasid Caliphate, showcasing the extent of their trade network. These expansions were not merely territorial conquests. They also acted as catalysts for cultural and commercial exchanges, shaping the course of European history and leaving a legacy that endures to this day. But how were these fearless navigators shaped? What training forged their strength and determination? Get ready to uncover the secrets behind the making of the Nordic warriors in our next chapter. Mythology and religion. The Norse pantheon. In the cold lands of the north, where the cutting winds shaped the character of its people, a complex and structured society flourished. Viking society, at the heart of this culture, pulsated. A rich mythology, populated by gods and goddesses who personified elements of nature, human emotions, and cosmic forces. The Norse pantheon. The Viking pantheon was predominantly divided into two families of deities. Aesir, led by Odin, the father of all. The Aesir were associated with war, wisdom, and governance. Other notable members include Thor, the god of thunder, and Tyr, the god of war and justice. Vanir, known for their connection to fertility and prosperity. The Vanir included gods such as Njordr, Freya, and Freyr. After a war between the Aesir and the Vanir, both clans established peace, exchanging hostages and joining forces. Additional supernatural beings. In addition to the main gods, Viking mythology was populated by other entities, giants, Jotnar, primordial beings often in conflict with the gods, representing forces of chaos, elves and dwarves, inhabitants of parallel worlds, with unique abilities and significant roles in the sagas. Loki, a complex figure, sometimes an ally and at other times an adversary to the gods, whose cunning and tricks shaped many mythological events. Religious beliefs and practices. Viking religion did not center on a dualism of good versus evil, but rather on the struggle between order and chaos. The gods had human-like characteristics, with virtues and flaws, making them figures that were close and understandable to the Vikings. Ancestral cults, sacrifice rituals, and seasonal festivals were common, reflecting their deep connection with nature and the cycles of life. The Viking. Routine, daily life, and customs. A typical day began with the sunrise, following the rhythms of the seasons and daylight. Men engaged in agriculture, fishing, construction, and craftsmanship, while women managed the household, cooked, cleaned, and wove. Children, without formal schooling, learned essential skills from their parents, family, and community. Viking women played fundamental roles, managing farms in the absence of men, caring for children, and being responsible for tasks such as spinning, weaving, and preparing food. Some women, known as shield maidens, also fought in battles. Children's education was practical and survival-oriented. Boys were trained for war and agriculture, while girls learned to care for the home and weave fabrics. Festivals and rituals reinforced community bonds with feasts, music, and dancing, celebrating harvests and honoring the gods. Religion and spirituality. Spirituality permeated the Vikings' daily life. They believed their actions were connected to the gods and that honoring the deities through rituals and sacrifices was essential for good harvests, protection, and victories in battle. Amulets and symbols, such as Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, were used to attract good luck and protection. Connection with the sea. The sea was both a resource and a challenge for the Vikings. They depended on their nautical skills to explore, trade, and conquer. The building of ships was a central activity, with vessels like the Drakkar allowing for fast and efficient navigation. Fishing and maritime trade connected the Vikings to other cultures, facilitating the exchange of goods like furs, metals, and spices. Warrior training, forging strength. In Viking society, preparing for war was a shared responsibility, with every free man encouraged to become a warrior. From childhood, young Vikings were immersed in activities that developed strength, endurance, and combat skills. Training was predominantly practical, conducted within the family unit, where parents passed down the necessary knowledge for self-defense and survival. For the jarls, nobles, there was the possibility of more specialized and intense intense training given their better financial conditions. They could afford advanced training costs, including hiring specialized instructors, ensuring their children were well prepared to lead and protect their lands. A distinctive feature of Viking training was glima, a traditional martial art practiced for both self-defense and entertainment. Practiced by men and women of all ages, glima emphasized technique over brute strength, promoting balance, respect, and safety among practitioners. In addition to physical skills, Viking warriors were deeply influenced by their religious beliefs, which valued courage and honor in battle. The belief that those who died in combat were chosen by Valkyries to join Odin in Valhalla strengthened their warrior spirit and their readiness to fight. Chapter 7. Internal Conflicts, Clans, and Power. The Vikings were organized into distinct clans, each with its own power dynamics and influence. These clans frequently engaged in internal conflicts, fighting over territory, resources, and prestige. Clan, structure, and dynamics. Each Viking clan was led by a chief who set the behavioral rules, resolved legal matters, and served as the military leader. This right passed from father to son, and when there was no direct descendant, a dispute among the clan members decided the new leader. The social structure was hierarchical, with clan members offering loyalty to the chief in exchange for protection and resources. Internal conflicts and wars. The pursuit of power and resources often led to violent clashes between clans. For example, in medieval Iceland, during the Free State period, 8 powerful lords linked to 5 families dominated the region. The Sturlung era was marked by intense conflicts between these groups, exacerbated by the interference of the Norwegian King Håkon IV, who sought to dominate Iceland. Clans such as Odaverjar, Haukdelir, Sturlungar, Asbjørningar, Svinfellingar, Vatnsfjordingar, and Sturlungar were among the most prominent, and their rivalries are detailed in the Saga of Sturlung. Chapter 8. Conversion to Christianity. A New Dawn. Conversion to Christianity. A New Dawn. For centuries, the Vikings maintained their pagan traditions, revering gods such as Odin, Thor, and Freyja. However, between the 8th and 12th centuries, profound transformation began to shape the destiny of these peoples. The conversion to Christianity. The arrival of Christianity. The introduction of Christianity in Scandinavia occurred gradually and in multiple ways. Missionaries such as Ansgar, sent by the Frankish-German Emperor Louis III in the 1820s, played a crucial role in spreading the new faith. Initially, Viking kings adopted Christianity for political reasons, seeking to establish alliances with European Christian powers. For example, the Treaty of Saint-Clair-sur-Epte, signed in 911, sealed the conversion of the Viking leader Rollo to Christianity in exchange for land in Neustria, establishing Normandy. Resistance and adaptation. The conversion was not a uniform process. Many Vikings retained their traditional beliefs, resulting in a coexistence of pagan and Christian practices. Over time, the construction of churches and the appointment of permanent bishops facilitated the spread of Christianity, but the complete Christianization of the Scandinavian population took centuries. Social and cultural transformations. The adoption of Christianity brought significant changes to Viking society. New values, such as compassion and charity, began to influence social structures. Art and architecture also underwent transformations, with the construction of stone churches replacing the old wooden structures. Additionally, pagan festivals were gradually replaced by Christian celebrations, although some traditions were adapted and incorporated into new religious practices. With the conversion to Christianity, the Vikings entered a new era in their history. But how did this religious transformation influence their military practices and social organization? In the next topic, we will explore how the adoption of Christianity shaped Viking society, from family structures to social institutions, revealing the complex interactions between tradition and change. Iwatu, Chapter 9. Decline and Assimilation. The twilight of the gods between the 11th and 13th centuries, a series of social, religious, and political transformations led to the decline of this warrior civilization and the assimilation of its peoples into the cultures they had once influenced. Factors of decline. Christianization. The conversion to Christianity brought significant changes to Viking society, altering religious practices, laws, and social norms. Political unification. unification. The consolidation of the kingdoms of Norway, Denmark, and Sweden resulted in more centralized governments, reducing the influence of local chieftains and the frequency of independent military expeditions. Economic changes. The reopening of Mediterranean trade routes during the Crusades reduced the importance of trade in Northern Europe, impacting the Viking economy. Enhanced military resistance. The populations targeted by Viking raids strengthened their defenses, making invasions less successful and more costly. Cultural assimilation. Over time, the Vikings and their descendants integrated into local cultures. England. Vikings who settled in England merged with the Anglo-Saxon population, contributing to the formation of English identity. France. The Normans, descendants of Vikings in the region of Normandy, adopted the French language and culture, profoundly influencing medieval French history. Russia. The Varangians. Vikings who settled in Russia integrated with Slavic populations, contributing to the formation of the Russian state. Enduring legacy. Although the Viking Age came to an end, its legacy persists. Linguistic. Many modern place names and surnames in Europe have Viking origins. Technological. Viking nautical innovations influenced ship design and navigation techniques. Cultural. Elements of Viking mythology and art continue to fascinate and inspire. With the assimilation of the Vikings into European cultures, it is interesting to explore how their traditions and legacies have been preserved and reinterpreted over the centuries. In the next topic, we will examine Viking influence on modern culture, highlighting how their stories, symbols, and achievements continue to shape our perception and imagination. Enduring legacy. Echoes in modernity. The Viking civilization, known for its daring raids and maritime skills, left a legacy that deeply resonates in modern times. Although often remembered for their warrior feats, the Vikings also contributed significantly to contemporary culture, language, and technology. Linguistic influence. Modern English retains traces of Old Norse, the Viking language. Words such as husband and window have Viking roots, evidencing the linguistic integration resulting from cultural contact. Names and symbols. The term Bluetooth for wireless technology originates from the Viking king Harald Bluetooth, known for unifying Nordic tribes. The technology's logo incorporates runes representing his initials, reinforcing the historical connection. Media representations. Contemporary pop culture frequently draws on Viking imagery. Series like Vikings and Vikings, Valhalla explore epic narratives, while productions like Norseman, Viking Age offer a humorous perspective on Viking life, highlighting the versatility of Viking representation in media, revivalism, and reenactments. Modern interest in Vikings manifests in festivals, fairs, and historical reenactment groups that seek to revive and celebrate Viking traditions, promoting a deeper understanding of their culture and practices. Cultural legacy. The Danish philosophy of well-being, known as hygge, emphasizes comfort and cozy social interactions, reflecting values that can be traced back to the Viking era. Additionally, the Viking image as a symbol of courage and adventure continues to inspire individuals and communities. This multifaceted legacy demonstrates that, although the Viking Age has passed, its echoes remain, influencing everyday and cultural aspects of modern life. The conclusion we reach with this video. The journey through the times and thrones of the Vikings reveals a rich and complex civilization whose influences still shape our modern world. We thank everyone who has accompanied us this far. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like to support our work. Stay tuned, as we will soon bring more fascinating stories about the civilizations that shaped our history. See you in the next video.